Welcome back to Abilene People, our podcast here on bigcountryhomepage.com, where we talk to Abilene's most interesting people. And if the fire chief doesn't qualify for that, I don't know who would. Cande Flores, how are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. So great to have you in the podcast studio here.
I appreciate you inviting me.
Yeah, well, you've been on my list for a long time, but you're kind of, I don't know. You're like the nicest, most intimidating guy in town. You're kind of intimidating, but you're really nice.
I guess that's a compliment. I'll take it.
Yeah. So you're from Abilene, born and raised.
Born and raised, yes, sir.
And you have your family here. You have adult children now.
I have 4 kids. They're all grown. 2 of them live in Florida. One of them lives in the Dallas area, and one, my oldest, actually lives here.
Yeah. So you have an interesting story about starting your career as a fireman that I just got to get you to tell us, because as I understand it, you had a buddy that was interested in becoming a fireman, and there's an assessment test, and he was going to go take it, and he didn't want to take it alone, so he said, "Hey, you had no interest in being a fireman at the time."
Right.
All right, so give us the lowdown on this. This is a great story.
So I was in college. I was going to Hardin-Simmons. I was playing football at Hardin-Simmons. I was actually headed down a very dark road. I was going into law enforcement. So I was going for criminal justice, and
all of that competition between the firemen and the police, you would have been on the dark side.
I would have been on the dark side. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. So that was your plan.
That was my plan. I was trying to see what was outside of Abilene, so I had transferred to Texas Tech and got all my paperwork settled, and was just waiting for the next semester to start. So I was getting ready to leave Abilene.
Were you going to play football at Tech?
No, I wasn't that good. So,
I wasn't good enough to play at Hardin-Simmons, so you're pretty good.
I wasn't big enough back then, but so my buddy told me he had signed up, and he said, "Hey, I signed up to take the test." He goes, "Come take it with me." So I want to take it by myself, and I was like, "Well, what is it?" So he kind of told me, and so part of the hiring process, the first thing you do is take a written exam. And so I signed up with him, and we went over and took the test, and I ended up scoring high enough to keep going. And he went a different path. And so it was kind of one of those things where once I was offered a position, it was too good to turn down, and I really had no idea what I was getting into at the time, to be honest with you.
So you are our fire chief. Started his fire career as a favor to a friend who didn't want to take the assessment test, the written test, alone.
Pretty much, yes, sir.
That's amazing.
It was a fortunate path, yes.
Isn't it funny if somebody could in a moment tell you the future? If somebody in that moment had said, "Okay, I'm gonna hit the time pause button, and I'm gonna tell you something. And here in 33 years, you're gonna be chief of the entire Abilene Fire Department," you would have fallen over and said, "Don't think so."
Right.
It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy.
So how does that progress? You become a fireman, and you're the, no pun intended, lowest rung on the ladder.
Right.
I don't know why that sounds like a pun. I guess the fire ladder. But you're lowest rung on the ladder for a long time. But then you start becoming battalion chief, or I don't know.
Lieutenant's the first part. I mean, you after 5 years on, it used to be 4, but after 5 years on, you can test to become a lieutenant. And then after 2 years, you could test to become a captain. And then it goes to battalion chief, deputy chief.
Are those tests, I would assume, are pretty difficult. I mean, there's a lot of study involved.
There's a lot of study involved. I always took at least 3 months of just hard studying, kind of some prep work up front. But then once I got nailed down to where a test was coming, pretty much you lock yourself away for 3 months, and it takes a strong family to kind of support you in doing that. So my wife has always been a strong supporter, and good 3 months to if you really want to get on top of those tests. So yes.
When you become chief, are you done, or do you still have to take tests, or can somebody can the police chief just walk in one day and just say, "Okay, pop quiz time. and can you do that to him, or it doesn't work that way?
Doesn't work that way.
Oh
No.
man, that'd be fun. That'd be fun. So you're done though. I mean, there's nothing else. Like, you're not going to have to do any more tests. I mean, you're the giver of the test. You're not the taker of the test.
Besides the life situations, yes. I mean, always at this position, you always have to stay on top of your game. So, I mean, there is a lot of learning that still goes on, a lot of education, but testing, yes.
So I'd like to talk about that, being on top of your game, because it's not that in any other time there weren't stresses and there weren't emergencies and all, but man, in this day and age, I mean, you got to be prepared for everything. Plus, we got a railroad right through town, a track. I would imagine hazardous waste comes through town occasionally, at least. I don't know if it does or doesn't.
Every day.
So there, chief, you didn't have to tell us that. So I mean, come on, you've got to be prepared for all of that. You've got to game plan all of that.
You do.
And do you have game planning exercises for stuff like that all the time? And how does that work?
So that's most of this position is planning. I mean, my days are spent with meetings, and if I'm not at a meeting, I'm planning for a meeting. So, and that's a lot of it. So we have me at my level. I have 2 deputy chiefs. I have battalion chiefs, and that's our executive group. That's our command group. And so we're always getting together, looking at what's coming down the road. Our fire prevention team does a lot of that as well. But I mean, you've got to be prepared for everything, anything. And to be honest with you, those are the things you train on, or the things that don't happen every day that could happen. And so there's a lot out there. And, when things are being introduced all the time, we talk about right now, the worst thing that is on everyone's mind is lithium ion batteries. And, for a little while, Abilene was kind of immune to it. We were kind of behind the curve on all of that showing up, and now it's here. And we've been planning for it for a while. So it's not a surprise that it's here, but we anticipate that you're going to just see more and more of it. So those are the things that keep me up at night, just worrying about how we're going to make sure our people are safe and how we're going to operate safely. And
has the big data center going out west of town affected you and your work at all?
It has. It's a large facility, and there's a lot of, I don't want to say hazards, but there's a lot of planning that goes into making sure that we're prepared for anything that could happen out there. Because they are moving so fast, our fire marshals are responsible for construction whenever they lay anything that's in the ground, any kind of piping, any kind of fire system. Fire marshals have to review it before it can be covered up and move on. So they're over there almost every day. So it has taken a lot of manpower away from us in that sense.
So I want to go back to your executive team. When you guys meet, like, what do you have, like barbecue or ribs, or or
just a closed door meeting? Yeah, maybe donuts. I don't know.
Okay, come on. I didn't want to go there. It's kind of stereotypical, And what do people in Abilene most often call the fire department for? And let me prejudice this way. I would assume it's something that's kind of irritating, but maybe not.
I don't want to say irritating, but I would say lift assist and alarm activations are probably our 2, as far as numbers go, our 2 highest calls.
Lift assist, you mean like maybe a non-ambulatory person or an older person that can't get up and they need help?
Yes, yeah. They've either fallen and not hurt themselves and they just need help getting up, or they've gotten into the tub and they can't get out on their own or something like that. That's usually what occurs. And we have several of those a day. So it's a service. I mean, our people go out and they treat it like any other call. And our guys do an outstanding job treating our public. And the numbers get up there though. I mean, and if we have someone who's using it as a secondary means instead of having like home health or something like that, we'll address those situations. I mean, that happens every once in a while, but not too often.
So interesting little anecdotal story from my experience. My wife and I bought an historic house here in Abilene that was built a little over 100 years ago. And there were old things left in the house, not from 100 years ago, but because the owner who lived there before us and had unfortunately passed away was a collector of all kind of, I mean, a very eclectic collection, antiques, some of which were usable and still good, and some of which had long passed their usable date. And one thing that she had was an old German made, for better lack of a better term, entertainment center. It's just a really neat old cabinet with a bunch of electronics in it from the 1950s. And we had arranged for that piece to be left in the house. Several other pieces we wanted, they were all left there for us. So after closing, we went over there, and I wasn't thinking. I just plugged this dude in, and we were standing there talking, looking around, and all of a sudden the front room was full of smoke. Now, this house is located about 10 blocks from the main fire station downtown.
Okay.
And I was, all of a sudden there's smoke everywhere. I couldn't tell where it was coming from. And it didn't even dawn on me just to go unplug the thing. So I called 911, and I promise you within 2 minutes, there were 20 firemen inside that house,
Right.
My wife's attitude was, man, these guys are all good looking guys. I'm glad you called them, We were blown away by how quick everybody got there. And I guess because we're pretty close to the main station, I don't know, maybe every citizen gets lucky enough to have 20 firemen respond that quickly. But what we were so impressed by that, I guess that's a part of the training too, to respond to something as crazy as some goofball plugs in a 1950s piece of electronics and the house is full of smoke.
Pretty much. I mean, those are what we call first
Goofball
alarms.
calls. Is that what you call goofball calls?
I mean, smoke showing, we're gonna go, right. So I mean, we have different tiers of how we respond to those, but either way, it's an emergency. So we'll go with lights and sirens, and we'll get there as fast as we can. So our goal is to get anywhere in town in usually 4.5 minutes or less.
Oh, wow.
If it's over 5 minutes, that's when we start to worry. And so that's kind of what drove Fire Station 9, is that we had some areas out south of town that we were kind of getting over 5 minutes.
And when did that station open?
It opens.
So it's not
hopefully
yet
next
open.
month. Yes.
It's not yet open.
Hopefully mid-January is when we're looking.
So why was I thinking it had already opened? Maybe it was just the conversations that it's getting so close. But that's going to have how many trucks out there and how many people out there?
So it'll have 2 trucks. It'll have an engine and a ladder truck.
And who goes out there? Some of the like how do you staff that without losing resources at other stations?
So we were actually allowed an increase in our staffing this year. So we have added 15 additional personnel to our staffing. So we'll be at 213 at full staffing. And so that is going to take the brunt of that. That actually allows us to increase by 1 crew. The second crew is actually going to come from Station 8 out on Buffalo Gap Road. We're just relocating them. So that station will still remain open, but there'll just be 1 crew there. And now we'll have a ladder truck and engine crew at Station 9.
How long has it been since Cande Flores had to sleep at the station and get up in the middle of the night and go on a call? Is that more than 10 years ago?
Probably, yes.
Would for old time's sake, you enjoy doing that one time, or do you think, no, man, my time's passed?
Oh, that was the fun part of the job. Yeah,
I would think so. I would think so. Plus the camaraderie and all. I mean,
yeah.
At least that's the stereotype that somebody that's never
yeah.
been a fireman has. You guys get to hang out together. Eat the donuts or the barbecue or whatever it is.
Yeah, it's definitely a brotherhood, and that was definitely the fun part of the job is getting to not only work but actually live with the people that you rely on, that you deal with every day, and it's one of those things that makes the job so great. I mean, is knowing that you've got all these things you got to deal with in a day's time, but at the same time you're dealing with it with all these people that you have grown to be family with. So it's a good thing.
And do you ever just, I'm gonna take the keys and just take one of these big trucks and drive it around town, take it home, and just, do you ever get to do that or no?
I don't know that I've ever wanted to do that, take one of those things home. But I drive them every once in a while when we pick out new trucks or go to pick up new trucks. I always drive them to make sure that there's nothing wrong with them. So I mean, it's every once in a while. It's like riding a bike. once you get in that seat and you kind of just, it all comes back to you.
Yeah. And so where do you get a new fire truck? They don't deliver it here, do they? You got to go somewhere and drive it home?
Now so part of NFPA, part of standards is that any truck that you buy has to be delivered on its own power. So they
Oh.
actually have to drive it from wherever you buy it from.
So they'll bring it here, and then they'll say, "Man, it was a road warrior. You know, it got 3 miles to the gallon, did
Oh,
great." Yeah.
that's
Where do
what I
where do
like.
they come from? Where do fire trucks get built like that? Is there a bunch of companies that do that?
There are a bunch of companies. We currently buy ours from Pierce, and Pierce is in Appleton, Wisconsin. And so we'll go to Wisconsin. We'll start the process here, but we'll go to Wisconsin and kind of do a pre-build. That's what we're doing right now. We just ordered 4 trucks, and we'll sit down and you spec everything from the type of screws that you want to the braided lines that you want to windshield to everything.
So, are all yeah, the classic color is red, but
Mhm.
don't they have like yellow fire trucks too in some communities and all?
Yeah.
You ever want to go against the grain and say, you know what, for Abilene, I'm gonna get some really crazy color fire truck. You just always stick with the red.
So we did change to the red and the gray. So that is kind of our new scheme now, and that's always something I wanted to do. So that has been a change for us. But no, I've seen some of the other colors out there. I mean, there's some blue ones out there.
Yeah,
And,
I've
yeah,
seen
I
some of
mean,
those in
there's
other communities.
yeah,
Yeah. So Travis, our producer, and I have gone over to your station on Pioneer where you have the baby box, the
yeah.
Safe Haven baby box, and we've cut some promos out there. And I'd like to just talk about that for a moment.
Okay.
I know that you were a part of that movement to get those safe baby boxes installed, well, the one installed
Right.
on Pioneer. And there was talk about the new station having one. And then that, of course, I don't think has happened or is going to happen any longer. But that's a really important thing that you've made available to people in Abilene, that somebody can legally and safely leave a baby in the care of the fire department. Tell us about that.
So the baby Moses law has been in place for a while, and that allows for someone to take a baby to a fire station or a medical facility or hospital or something like that and turn it over without repercussions. Uh, the baby boxes have been around for a little while, but they weren't allowed in Texas for the longest time because that wasn't part of the law. Um, so there was a group in town that was kind of pushing for this, a citizen group, and they came forward and asked about it, but it wasn't allowed. So when that law changed in Texas, immediately they came back and asked. And so we took it to the city manager, and he was on board with it at the time. And so we allowed them to do some fundraising, but they were all prepared for it because fundraising was complete like within 30 days. They had money and ready to go. And so it is a nice option. I don't say nice option, but it is an option for someone.
I think that's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is. If somebody's in a bad spot and they don't know what to do,
Right.
it's better than a lot of other options, probably better than most other options for a desperate person who needs to give a baby up in a safe and legal way.
What it provides is confidentiality. So someone who doesn't want to, who's either afraid to talk to someone or afraid that they're going to get detained or whatever the case may be, it allows them to safely leave that baby without having to talk to someone or disclose why they're doing it. And then that baby is in a safe environment so that the rest of the process can take place and that baby can be turned over to medical facility and all the other people that are going to take care of it from that point forward.
You've been a big proponent of community engagement and being relevant in the local community. I mean, you're from Abilene, you're an AISD product, you born and raised here, famously didn't plan on being famously, now that we've talked about it in this podcast, didn't plan on being a fireman, went and took the test and then matriculated your way through all the levels. You're fire chief. It's important to you that you have a role in and with the citizens.
Yes, sir.
I would assume baby box is one example of community engagement. I'm sure there are others. You want to talk about that and why that's so important?
I think it is important. One thing that makes us successful is support from our community, support from our city management. And we have gotten a ton of support over the years. Even at the times when police departments weren't very popular, it has never been that way for fire departments. Fire departments have always been popular. We've always felt love from our community. And so it's important to return that every way that we can. So anytime that we're asked to be part of a parade, anytime that we're asked to go out and help support a school function or a function like trunk or treat or anything like that, we need to be present. And not only for the citizens, but for our people, because our people don't need to be visible only when there's an emergency. We need to be able to interact with the people that we serve in all situations. And so being able to be out there and talk to kids and talk to people when we're not dressed in all of that scary gear, I think that's important. And to let them know that we appreciate what they do for us as much as they appreciate what we do for them. I think that's just part of that community experience and part of being an Abilenian.
When you have those community events and little boys and girls want to climb up on the truck and get, see how big the steering wheel is, you guys let them do that kind of stuff?
As much as we can, yes.
Would you let me do that?
Anytime you want.
Can I drive a truck, baby, or is that really not possible?
Now you're pushing it.
Hey, so I want to go back to one thing. You talked about the guys that you live with, and you really get to know each other. You have to have some funny stories. I mean, you have to have some funny stories. Are there any that you can tell, or is this another podcast for another time?
Yeah, you're talking about two different things there. Having funny stories and being able to talk about them. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that happens in the fire station that stays in the fire station. And those are usually the funnest times that don't get put out. And so if I were to talk about anything, I'd probably be encouraging it to happen. And as a fire chief, I don't want to see it happen.
See, Chief, there we go. The things you did 15 years ago, and now you don't want the guys doing today.
That's right.
Yeah. So, okay. You have 200 plus firemen under your employ.
Yeah.
Do you need more? I mean, realistically, would you like more, or what's the vision for the future? Do you need another station? Is that 10 years away? How does that kind of future planning happen?
I don't think it's 10 years away. I've got chief officer planning scheduled for later next month. And that's going to be a major topic is what does our future look like? With the Lansing project here, with additional projects showing up and DIAS and their growth, we could probably see some growth that's going to be a concern for us in the near future. So probably 3 to 5 years is what I'll be looking at as far as what are we going to need as a department in order to keep up with our citizen needs. And so that's something that I think we're going to have to realistically plan on is how many people do we need in the next 3 to 5 years? Do we need another station in the next 3 to 5 years?
So Abilene's growing so fast now.
It's growing fast. And then, like I said, in the next 5 years, I think you're going to see some of those projects like DIAS. And of course, now we have a second data center that is right outside our city limits that is still going to have an impact on our city. And so what's next? What else is coming? We've seen lots of commercial growth, which is great for our citizens, great for our tax base. But it also means we have new things to worry about. And how do we keep up with those needs and keep up with those concerns?
Chief, to your knowledge, we talked earlier about the railroad track right through town, and you mentioned that there's hazardous stuff that comes through pretty frequently. To your knowledge, has there been talk about rerouting the track or elevating the track so that there's no traffic stops, and it would obviously minimize the accidents, some of which happen right near the main station, near the Grape Street and North First?
So there has not been talk about it. And from my understanding, I haven't heard of anything being a concern as far as that talk. We did have a rash of vehicle accidents for a while there, and it seems like they just come in spurts. I mean, we'll see them for a few months, and then they kind of disappear, and then we'll see them again for a few months.
Well, a couple of months ago, right there at Sales and the track, some guy pulled a trailer right over it and stopped. And I mean, I don't. If you were in your office, you could have hurt it probably.
Yeah, we were there pretty quick. And he had pulled over, and I think he had pulled up, and somebody had stopped in front of him. And
Yeah.
when he stopped, it kind of got in a rut. And yeah, that stuff happens. Luckily, it's been a while since we've had a fatality involving a vehicle accident on the tracks. But I mean, any accident has the potential to either derail a train or, cause something to spill out. And so those are concerns, yes. But to my knowledge, there's been no discussion, certainly not at our level, but not at the, I guess, the railroad commission or the railroad decision maker level that would involve rerouting or changing.
For the record, next time you have one of those meetings, just say, well, I was talking to this guy on the podcast the other day, and he said that'd be a good idea. So maybe just file that one away. Yeah, I'd appreciate that. All right. And so we talked about, the big planning meeting you have next month, and you're going to be future planning and all. And we've talked about responding to the growth. And I don't know how in the world you anticipate. You mentioned, what's next. How do you anticipate that? What do you read, and how do you keep up with all of that? What is your sourcing for the prospectus kind of talk? I mean, is it just word of mouth, or are there strategists that come in and say, well, Chief, I think what's going to happen is we're going to have this and that?
It's numbers. So we'll look at our incident numbers for the last 3 years. We'll look at how we're climbing. I've got the fire marshal's office pulling all the permit information for this year and that they've already got for possibly next year. We'll start putting all that together, and then just seeing growth as far as, how many additional apartment complexes are we looking at? How many other large scale commercial projects are in the works? And, what needs do we have versus the resources that we have on hand today? Where are holes? Where are gaps? How do we need to fix them? And so it's pretty much just a game of numbers. Plug in, looking at where the needs are, seeing our holes, and starting to plug them.
Do you have any ingress or egress issues that bother you about Abilene, or do the streets pretty well accommodate all of your equipment? The reason I ask that is because I just wonder sometimes if, I don't know how does that work? You got to wait on a train just like everybody else. And, we've talked about the trains so much. That's not, your biggest concern for sure. But what do you do when you get a call and, traffic's a problem or the road's closed and you just have to reroute, I guess? You can't wave a magic wand and open it up or get rid of a train just because you want it to be.
It's always an issue. And this year has been a big issue because, of course, this year they decided to renovate all of the railroad crossings. So anytime one of those crossings is down, it's about a 6-month project, and they don't do one at a time. They do 2 at a time. So just like
you're
right
right
now,
there by Grape Street, the crossing.
Street. I mean, a Pioneer. I mean, those are huge. And then at the same time, the stuff that we had with the cyber issues in town knocked out our GPS system, and that still is not up and running. So we're still having some issues with that system. When there's a road that's closed, when there's a road that's being under construction, we can mark that on our GPS system. Right now, we don't have that ability. So if we're not aware of it, if we don't have firsthand knowledge, and our guys get to an area and then they find out, oh, this is under construction, oh, this road is closed, then we have to pivot and move from there.
So do those guys drive the trucks using GPS now pretty much? Or if somebody's...
It's become a big part of our response system, yes.
But back in the day, you just had to know the streets.
Back in the day, you knew every street in town. Yeah, somebody throw an address out, you had to know how to get there. And that skill exists in some degree or another here, but not like it used to.
That's fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
So how does that work? Do you have a voice? Just like if I'm listening to my maps on my phone and it says,
So we have a mobile computer that the officer has access to, and that has all of our run data on it, but it also has a map. And when he hits that map, it throws the address up and gives him a route to it. For the most part, if it's in your run district, you know how to get there. But if someone from downtown had to respond out near the mall, those roads kind of get a little tricky. So if you're not used to driving through them every day, they're probably going to need that system.
So as we approach the holidays, any special things that the firemen plan for relative to holidays? I mean, everybody from, the turkey fryer in the backyard and it blows up and starts a fire, or Christmas trees, or do you want to address that at all? Or you don't even think about it. You don't even worry about it, right? You don't game plan for that, right?
Those happen. Probably not our biggest concerns, but those happen. Our bigger concerns are just with the cooler weather and people trying to heat their homes. Sometimes they get a little creative in trying to heat their homes, and that's usually when our house fires pick up.
Well, what do you mean, Chief? How do they get creative? They start a fire inside the living room that's not inside the fireplace?
If you're going to start a fire in your fireplace, don't use gasoline. Don't use diesel. That can be a concern. That they're not made for that.
Or don't do like my college buddy who had some gasoline in the garage of the house that they were renting,
mm-hmm.
but he didn't have a way to get it to the fireplace where he wanted to start a fire. So he put it in a styrofoam cup, walked through the house, had a little fire go to the fireplace, and threw the. I think you probably can anticipate what happened there, Chief.
That happens.
Don't do that.
Don't do that. No.
What's the craziest thing you've seen like that?
Craziest thing.
Because that one's pretty crazy. And it happened to a buddy of mine.
Yeah.
Well, at least he said it happened to him. I don't think you'd tell a story like that if it didn't.
I don't know. Probably somebody just pouring gasoline on those logs, and then trying to light it up. I mean, not expecting that thing to blow up. I mean, that happens.
Yeah. Not our best moments.
It's not. No.
Yeah. Well, all right, Chief. So just talking about an Abilenian now, not the fire chief. Take your fire chief hat off. By the way, do you still have those really cool fireman hats or no? Okay, good.
Yeah. Mine's white though, so I mean it has to stay clean, so it hardly ever gets dirty.
you don't want to wear the white one too much.
Yeah.
So you take your fire hat off for a second. Just what would you? I ask this from guests pretty often. What would you like to see in Abilene in the next 10 or 20 years? What would you like to see happen in Abilene, or a focus for Abilene? And it can be anything from your favorite restaurant coming to town, or, values or whatever. What would you like to see?
I think Abilene's headed in a good direction. I think we're seeing a lot of some of those things that we usually travel out of town to go to, for good restaurants, good shopping, that kind of stuff. I would like to see more entertainment here. You probably know that, Maxwell Golf Course is kind of going through some transitions. We do have some ball fields that are starting up, and those things are super popular. More things like that. More things for families to get out and do activities outside, for people to go do activities outside, engage in, good family fun, I guess, more than anything. But those kind of things, I think, is what keeps people in this area and what keeps them from getting bored and doing things they shouldn't be doing. So I'd like to see just that continue to grow.
I like it. I like that. I like that answer a lot. And it kind of reminds me of a conversation my wife and I were having yesterday with a young mom of 3. She had taken her kids to the zoo.
Oh, yeah.
And she had taken them on a Sunday morning and just enjoyed the zoo, and then had gone to lunch. And you think about, well, what does a mom and a dad with 3 little ones do in Abilene? Well, those are kind of things that are awfully valuable.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah. And so I'm going to tell her just to go to the firehouse and let those little boys check out the fire trucks. And
anytime. Anytime. We welcome people just to show up anytime, preferably not at lunch or supper, but I mean, anytime besides that. We'll show you around. This is your fire station. You're more than welcome to stop by and visit. All
right. Well, Cande Flores, Fire Chief, thank you for coming into the podcast. From a guy that didn't think he would even be a fireman, now he's the fire chief. I wonder what's next. It's We said it's over. Maybe not. You know, maybe you'll be. What's the grand fire? There's got to be somebody who's over all the fire chiefs in the state of Texas. That's your next gig.
Oh, if like governor or something.
Yeah, I think the governor. That's it. I like that. I like that. Governor Flores. I like that. Thanks, and appreciate you so much, and wish you the best, and wish the fire department the best. And I stumbled a little earlier thinking the new station was already open, but what's your target date?
We're probably looking at mid January.
All right.
Yep.
So right around the corner.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
And thanks for being here with us. We appreciate you. The podcast wouldn't happen if we didn't have 2 or 3 people watching. So if you're one of those 2 or 3, thank you so much. And I want to give a big shout out to our ace producer, Travis Corrigan, over there running the switcher board. He makes it all happen for us. And the good folks that do so much here on bigcountryhomepage.com to keep you informed, and all of the other podcast hosts. We do it because we do want not only to keep you informed, but in the case of having the fire chief on, have a little fun and get some information for you that you might not have known otherwise. And we'll see you next time here on bigcountryhomepage.com. Abilene People. I'm your host, Danny Sims. Thank you so much.